Welcome to the Garden City in western Montana, USDA Zone 5B. Good morning and welcome to my kitchen. So today I'd like to go through some of the foods that I try to eat on a daily basis for health and nutrition. So the first thing I do in the morning is I have a little bit of coffee. Now when I was kind of in my later years of college and early years of medical school, I wasn't sure whether or not it was a good thing to drink coffee or not. It was a little bit confusing to me, and it really kind of changed probably midway through my medical training. One is I was really tired, so coffee became a little bit essential, but there was also a really nice article in the New England Journal of Medicine, which is kind of the top journal, that showed that basically there was an association with the more coffee you drank, the longer you lived and the better health you had. And so this is an association study, so it doesn't necessarily mean that the people received all those health benefits from coffee, but the people that tended to drink more coffee tended to do better. Now this was up to about 6 cups of coffee. That article can't speak to anything much more than that, but I felt like it kind of gave me a free pass to enjoy some coffee during medical training, and I've done that ever since. And so what I do is I put in a little bit of this, and this is actually pea milk. And so I add in a little bit of that. And the reason why I do so is because it has some really great nutrition. It has about 30% of the recommended daily value of vitamin D, which is really important because most of us are vitamin D deficient, and also has 100% of the recommended daily value of vitamin B12, which is particularly important to me because I eat a predominantly plant-based diet and I'm always looking for good sources of vitamin B12. Additionally, it has about 10% of the recommended daily value of protein, and so it's good to add in a little bit of protein in the morning. So that's what I usually use. I only have it basically in coffee. I think that it tastes really good because it has a little bit of a vanilla flavor, but I don't think it tastes that great drinking straight. Now my daughter, on the other hand, she drinks it straight every day and seems to really like it. And so that's how I have my coffee. I have a little bit of that pea protein milk mixed in with my coffee. Now it kind of makes sense why coffee may have some really great health benefits, in particular because it has a lot of antioxidant properties. Now there is some concern about non-filtered coffee potentially being a little bit dangerous, so I drink filtered coffee, and I imagine it probably does have some really great health benefits. So that's how I start every morning. The next thing I do, which is a little bit strange, is I have nuts for breakfast. Now, the reason why I do that is because what we've found through studies is that people that generally eat nuts typically have less cardiovascular disease and actually live longer. And nuts are a really good source of protein, have some good fatty acids, and they kind of linger around in your belly, so they're good for satiety. With my busy schedule, it's really easy for me to just grab some nuts and some coffee and head down the road, and so I've kind of made it my habit. These are unsalted, non-roasted nuts. The ones I have today are walnuts, almonds, pecans, hazelnuts, and some Brazilian nuts, and so I eat a wide variety of nuts every day. Now there are some concerns with people that because of high calorie content, that maybe eating a bunch of nuts isn't so good for us and maybe we can gain some weight by doing so. It doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. When they look at studies, people that have like a handful or 2 handfuls of nuts on a regular basis actually tend to lose weight. And so it's kind of interesting because of the calorie content. Now, I think there's a little bit of a difference in how we digest nuts. A lot of the nuts probably go through our system untouched, which is good for our colon, and so we probably don't actually absorb all of the calorie content that is potentially in nuts. And so this morning I'm going to start off my day like every day with my coffee and my nuts. Welcome back. So as I mentioned previously in the video, the 50 Shades of Green, I typically do try to have a salad every single day. Now it's easy in the summertime because I have a beautiful garden that has wonderful greens, and in the wintertime I have to come up with different alternatives, but I eat a ton of salads, in particular during the summer months, and I do my best during the winter months. And so this salad, similar to other salads I make, this one has some lettuce, a few different types of kale, some chard, some broccoli greens, and some cabbage. And then I mixed in a few different things, which I've mentioned before. We have some chickpeas, and so that's a really good source of protein, and it's a type of legume that I try to have every day. So this is a roasted chickpea. Along with that are some raw sunflower seeds and some raw pepitas, and again, a good source of protein. Seeds have been found to be very good for us, different vitamin contents. And then I also add in some of the vegan Parmesan, which includes vitamin B, or the nutritional yeast, which for me, being on a predominantly plant-based diet, it's really good to have sources of B12, and so for me that's a good daily source of B12 vitamin. And also mixed in some ground flaxseed, which is a nutritional powerhouse, has some lignans in it that are particularly good probably for prevention of cancer, especially colon cancer. And so I typically have a salad every single day. And just to make the salad a little bit better, I usually do add in a few different vegetables. And so for today, we have some broccoli from the garden. So we'll add in some broccoli. And we have some tomatoes from the garden. So we'll add that in there. And then from a recent trip to the farmer's market, we will put in a little bit of carrot. And then some orange bell pepper from the farmer's market as well. And so as you can see, the salad becomes more colorful. It becomes more of like a rainbow with the different types of colors, and that's with fruits and vegetables. That's usually a good sign because they have different types of phytonutrients, which are great for your health. And all the additional vegetables just makes it even more tasty, and so that's what I typically do, and so that's like a daily salad for me. The other thing that I do every day is I try to eat a few different servings of fruit. And so typically every day I have at least an apple and a pear. So that goes with me in my work bag. And so I make sure to at least have that. But during the summer months, as good tasty fruits available, then I typically eat a little bit more. And so today I'll have a peach. This came off of my neighbor's tree, and these are some of the juiciest peaches I've ever had. And so we'll have a peach. Also have some plums that came from the farmer's market. And we'll probably have some melon. And so this comes from Dixon, Montana, and for whatever reason, they're able to grow probably, in my opinion, the best melons around. And so I have some melon left over, so we'll add in some of that. What about it? You know, some people have made the argument, should we not eat too many fruits? And, you know, there's some logic behind that. If we eat a lot of fruit, then maybe the sugar content in our blood goes up and maybe puts us at risk for diabetes. Fruit does have a lot of fructose in it. But this has actually been studied quite extensively. And what we know is that if you eat fruit typically in the whole form, because of all the different fibers and other components of the fruit, it actually balances out the blood glucose. And so in general, you can eat pretty much as much fruit as you want. There was actually a study where the volunteers had about 20 servings of fruit a day, and they didn't have any sort of issues with their blood sugar. And so even with diabetics, I am a particular or I'm a very big proponent of eating a lot of fruit. And what we found in studies with diabetics is that the more fruit they eat, or at least if they have a decent amount of fruit, their blood sugars actually become better controlled. And that, like I said, probably has to do with other components of the fruit, which could include the fiber and so on and so forth. Where you need to be a little bit careful is making like fruit juices, where you take away the pulp and the fiber and all those things. If you drink a whole bunch of juice, then it probably does become an issue with blood glucose levels and issues with diabetics. But eating the whole fruit seems to be very safe and very healthy. In fact, there was a paper, and I forget exactly which body produced it, but it was something like the CDC or the World Health Organization, and they looked at the different dietary things that we could improve on in societies, and their number one recommendation was that we need to eat more fruit, and that would have the biggest impact on reducing mortality. And so I eat a lot of fruit every day. Okay, so moving along. So another thing that I try to have every day is turmeric ginger tea, which I have a previous video on that for more details. But with the turmeric in particular, a lot of phytonutrients available, and it's probably really good as an antioxidant for overall health. Ginger probably some similar properties. And so I typically, this has become my designated tea drinking cup, and so we'll pour some tea into that. And I typically do put in about a half a lemon also, just for some flavor, and then also just a little extra nutrition. And so we'll squeeze in a little lemon into that as well. Now, I am much better at drinking the tea during the colder times of the year. So in the fall and winter, it's regularly every day, whereas in the summer, a lot of times just not feeling for hot tea, and so kind of goes by the wayside a little bit during the summer months. One thing you can do is you can make the tea and then put it in the fridge, and it's pretty good cool as well, but it is a lot of work to do that. And so a lot of times I still don't. I probably should, but I do think that turmeric ginger tea is a very good addition to everyday staple. The other thing that I have pretty much every day is chocolate covered almonds. Now I could, for better or for worse, I really like this snack. I could leave it out of this list, but that wouldn't be quite fair because this is something that I have pretty much every day. And so it is dark chocolate, but it's probably not the purest chocolate, and so maybe not the healthiest addition, but I do think that the chocolate covered almonds in general are probably a pretty good healthy snack, and it also helps with kind of a sweet tooth craving, or also just kind of helps with the satiety in your belly with the nut portion. And so especially when I'm on the go, a lot of times I will have some chocolate covered almonds. Okay, so we're closing with my evening routine, and every night my daughters and I have some berries, and so it's typically whatever's available. And since it's summertime, we have some wild Montana huckleberries, and then some strawberries, blackberries, and blueberries that I got at the store. Now, berries in general are very, very healthy, have a lot of different pigmentations and antioxidant properties, and a lot of different fiber. I don't have raspberries today. Usually we do, but and we get them from my neighbors, but they're so good they don't last that long in our house. And raspberries in particular have quite a bit of fiber, but all of these berries are really quite good. And so we have them in the evening. I also usually have a little bit of dark chocolate. So this is 95% dark chocolate, and dark chocolate's very, very healthy. Has a lot of antioxidants, and also has a surprising amount of iron. So about 10% of the recommended daily value of iron is in these 4 squares, and also has quite a bit of fiber as well. And so that it's about 18% of the daily recommended value of fiber. And then in the evenings, if I'm not on call, I usually kind of close down the night with a glass of red wine. And red wine has been traditionally even very thought of as healthy for our cardiovascular system. And when we look at association studies, people who typically drink red wine typically have less cardiovascular issues. Now, it's kind of a mixed bag with alcohol. We know that excessive alcohol intake really does put you at risk for a lot of different health issues, especially cancers in the upper GI tract. But in moderation, probably fairly healthy. Moderation for me would be 1 to 2 glasses. I drink probably just a little bit of a glass on a lot of nights. But there has been some recent studies coming out just kind of really questioning whether or not alcohol has any sort of benefit for us. And so I'm going to keep close eye on that. But for now, we'll just have a little bit of wine to wind down the evening, and we'll enjoy that. So good night, and I hope you enjoy.